So, I know in my last video, I was talking about how when I went out and I felt like I saw these three spheres, these black spheres, they call them rings of fire because it looked like they had like a fire around them crossing the sun. And just kind of want to go back to that because within this time frame, it reminds me of like how how they talk about the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn being tomorrow, and just what I've been reading, just kind of came in synchronicity, the parallels of what I'm reading, and conjunction as astrology, astronomy, and how I'm reading this book. It's on alchemy. It's the Rosary of the Philosophers, and in one of the chapters, it talks about the investigation of truth, which is, it says, conjoining, fusion. It's like a merging, and just kind of thought about how my experience of what I felt, my awakening in June of 2019, the week after, it was probably within that week. It was just, like I said, going to the sky like a superhero and coming down, and just my body was healed. My whole body just felt great, emotionally and physically. And then, that next evening, the night of Om, where it felt like my body was a piece of tin, as I came back, and vibrating and everything. And just, I felt that piece of tin waving, the waving of the piece of tin, and it creating that S, just continuous S wave. It just kind of made me think. Felt like throughout that time, it just felt like my body was this conduit. And what I think of is like a battery, like a positive and negative, and then you have the copper wire. I kind of think of that like being that middle, that conduit in a way. And I just remember, I think I said, I just remember when I came back, is like I didn't even know how to walk, like I was learning how to walk all over again, like an animal, being born. So it felt to me like I experienced throughout this time of what I know of what I experienced, and just thinking of things that I've read, it felt to me like, and I said this even from the beginning about like, it felt like I was reborn, like it was like I had gone through like I had been reborn, but not such in depth until now. It was like through this process, it felt like I went through the mineral, the vegetable, and the animal stage, as to the minerals, being the elements and such, the metallic body, and as to the minerals that are earthed throughout the earth, the ores, and the solar system as well, and yeah, so it felt like I had gone through all these stages, and then as being a human, so as in the number four in a way, and I heard these four bells, as well. When I woke on that fourth bell, it just felt like nature, felt through the four seasons, of the zodiac, the of all the houses. I know I'm kind of going way up there, but it just felt so intense. I not only felt nature, but I felt the solar system around as well, everything. So it just kind of reminded me of, as I'm reading the Rosary of the Philosophers, and just that came into mind about the conjunction of what's coming tomorrow. And what I feel, what it came to me, it just popped in my head were those three spheres that I had saw, going by. So I remember I was on the bed prior to that, seeing that. I was on my bed and sitting up, and I think I was reading something, but I felt this really cold chill. It was like ice cold, and it was like almost like a little breeze, and it started at my feet, and it just started to it headed towards my head. And it was just such a weird feeling that I panicked. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It just felt like I was dying in a way. To me, that's what it felt like. It felt like that, like a panic attack. But I feel like something wanted me to go outside. As I looked at the sun, and my eyes were super watery. I remember, as I was felt like I was trying to breathe, and I had, and as my sight zeroed in up there, I just happened to see these three black spheres, and they weren't in front of the sun yet. They were going to be crossing over it, and I remember there was three of them, and there was three rings, and they were together, they were connected together, and as I'm watching them, I'm thinking, oh no, this is the last time I'm going to be breathing here, is kind of what my thought was. And as they passed over, I had this calmness, this stillness, this peace that overcame me, and it just came to me about that thought while I was reading, earlier about the Rosary of the Philosophers and the conjoining, and what came to me was eclipse. I remember it just reminds me of being in school as a kid, and the eclipse, the solar eclipse, and I just kind of read on the eclipse, and I just wanted to read it like Wikipedia, just like an eclipse, astronomical event that occurs when an astronomical object or spacecraft is temporarily obscured by passing into the shadow of another body. That rings a bell for me. Or by having another body pass between it and the viewer. This alignment of three celestial objects is known as syzygy. And it reminds me so much of those three spheres that I saw. These objects passing in front of the sun. And syzygy rings a bell to me too, because it's as they say in there, in astronomy, it's being yoked together, is roughly straight line configuration of three or more celestial bodies in a gravitational system, reference to the sun, earth, and either moon or planet, where the latter is conjunction, the new moon, opposition, the full moon. And it reminds you, it's like, just to me, it's like, reminds you of four contacts, like the three spheres and the sun, and it reminds me just of the elements, of the air, of the earth, of fire, and of water. It reminds you of that. It takes me to the zodiac and such. But I know this a lot. But syzygy, that's in science, in astrology and philosophy. Jung talks about conjunction, yoked together, meaning a union of opposites, as in eros, the concept, and as in, there's another in philosophy also, the syzygy, the female male carrying on the emanations known as Eon, Gnosticism. And that rings a bell a lot. It just the syzygies. It's like coming into your shadow. It felt like, and I know I said in my last video, I think it was, as I was walking up the back, when I had that sense of calmness, my wife had gone out there to see what was going on because she knew I left all of a sudden. She was sitting right next to me on the bed, and she went to go check on me. And as I was coming back, I said, "Man, I just feel really weird. I feel like it's me, but not me." And that's what it was. It was like, it felt like a shadow. It felt like something else was in me. I was part of it, but something else on the inside felt like something had entered me. That's what it felt like. I knew I was me, but also it just felt really weird inside my body. But it kind of reminds me of how in alchemy they talk about the rebus, the sun and the moon joining together and fusing as one. And I think back about how I was talking about the solar system and our connection from Earth to the solar system, and it just brings back a lot of thinking for me about how I think back and how they talk about the 7 planets. The ancients do, whether it be in the Kabbalah, whether it be in alchemy, whether it be in Hinduism, as in your chakras, the 7 chakras, aligning the 7 chakras within your body, so you can have full balance between, is what I say, yin and yang. You have the black and the white, the dark and the light, whatever it is, it's the polarities, to have that full balance of everything, and also the planets, as well, to have that balance. And it never realized anything like this, like for me, of my thinking, the thoughts, the psyche, the mind, on how you hear of astrology and how the planets rule the houses, which are, like I said, I think the wheels of the zodiac, the 12 of them, which are us. And you never really think about that. It's like, for me, I never thought about it in any way, but it's almost like I feel like through my lifetime that I've experienced a couple of them, and all of a sudden I experienced the other 5 just within that time of when I awoken. It's like, for me, an example is, being born, on Earth, and how they say Saturn is lead, that heaviness, being able to walk the earth, it's that heaviness, what I feel like experiencing at birth was Saturn to me, and it being lead, like I said, on the periodic table, and the composition of the human body, and it's 82, and I feel like, the next planet I experienced throughout my whole lifetime, just about, up until my awakening, and that's talking, 51 years of walking this earth in the same planet I feel my body was, and it was Mars. They talk about how, you have your gods and goddesses, Mars being the god of war. And I was always at war with myself and my opposition, which I'm a Libra. My dad was an Aries. He was born Aries. Planet was ruled by Mars, and was always in tug of war. And I learned that, throughout my life, to be in a tug of war with myself. It's the iron, the blood, it was like I had that anger all that anger. So I feel like I experienced Mars for so long. Yeah, kind of a deeper meaning for me. But I feel like I experienced those two planets, through my time here before my awakening, June, the first week of June of 2019, when I flew up to the sky. And I feel like when I came down and I was healed, like I said, I felt like this superhero, Thor, the thorium, 90, the number 90. It just felt really weird. It felt like, yeah, I felt like a superhero. But I feel like the iron, I forgot the iron 26, it's on the periodic table, of elements. And I feel like as I came down, I feel like I was healed, like my body was cleansed. It was gone through and whitened. My spine, that had been so clogged for so long, and how they talk about the god of healing, Mercury. Um, it's just amazing, just this feeling of what I could put my experience to the solar system, through everything. So it felt like 80, like 80 being Mercury and Quicksilver, and and that's so, that being the third experience for me, third through seventh is what I feel like I felt all in this whole time of what I'm realizing. Next came Jupiter for me, which was the night of Om. When I came back, and it felt like I was like this piece of tin, as I'm being cleaned up and down my spine. It felt like the piece of tin. So I say Jupiter, number 4, which is the number 4. It's the symbol, and 10 is in 50. I felt Jupiter very strongly for me, and they say, as a chakras, that's the heart. You have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so it's like Thursday, being Jupiter, and it just says it's your heart, and the chakras, what I feel for me, but it's like that bridge right there, and then it's like I felt, after Jupiter, I felt like a connection all in one time, and it felt like, to me, it felt like Venus, the sun and the moon all in one time. Copper being Venus being copper, 29, sun, being gold, 79, the moon being silver, 47, and it felt like copper was the conduit of the sun and the moon for me. Felt like that merging, the fusion, waking up of, like I say, waking up of my atoms, waking up of my cells, waking up of the molecules, all those things. The protons, electrons they talk about, the positive, the negative, the yin, the yang. It felt like everything had awoken in my whole body, and I was able to like look deep into my past, into the roots, and I feel it's like the roots, the foundation, of where we come from, of truth, of love, like unconditional love. That's what I feel. It's like I had all these experiences, I feel, through this time, and this year and a half for me, that I had never felt my whole life, except with what I can think of, my two boys being born. I remember the joy that I had. And, you know, the last time I think I felt that was, I think I say, like, it was like just being out in the open and flying a kite. And feel we're supposed to enjoy life, and that's what I was not enjoying. You know, we're always in such a rush. It's so chaotic here in this world. We get so caught up in the fast pace of where we have to be. You know, it's not actually living in the now. We're like, for me, is I would be like, I have to do this, this, and this, and I have to be done by this time. And I never got to enjoy anything in between. It was always a point A and a point B, you know, making a destination and getting to that destination and not be able to enjoy anything in between. To learn of stillness, to learn of peace, to learn of calmness. But all that, I know now, brings out love and acceptance of everything. Nature brings out nature, brings you just it's like all this material, all this stuff that you see on the outside. It's so materialistic that you forget about who you are inside. About having that love for you. It's so fast paced. You have to learn how to slow it down. I needed to learn how to slow it down. That inner invisible pendulum that I've talked about, where the forces of nature were in my body and all it knew was destruction. Felt like that's, you know, from the beginning of birth. I feel like, you know, we're in our mother's womb and that's what we hear. And, you know, you don't think about, I didn't think about those things until I woke up, until I was conscious. I became conscious. You know, you get that peace when you sleep. It's like being able to have that peace when you're awake as well. You know, so what if you don't get a certain thing done? There's always tomorrow. You can work on it tomorrow. You can work on it the next day. Who cares? I mean, all it is time. It's just, it will get done. It'll happen. Yeah, I know it'll happen. And if it doesn't, then oh well, so be it. Then it wasn't meant to happen. It's like I was never in the now. I was never, you know, I never dealt with my problems. I let it go. I just let it fester, where it finally exploded. And I just say that I feel like we experience the solar system, the planets within our bodies. And it's my thought of what I know now is I just never experienced that. I never knew that until I came to, till I awakened. You know, I feel like it's taught to us, you know, by being born of a mother and a father, and to have respect for your mother and father, to have respect for yourself first. If you don't respect yourself, then you don't respect anything else or anybody else. And that's where I was. I didn't respect nature, you know, the nature of things. Yeah. You know, it's like I have to look outside and see it and then go within, because I know it's all coming from within. And I can change. We can change. As through the 4 seasons, you see the 4 seasons, they change. We can change. So it's like to have peace, stillness, and love within yourself. creates so many positives, only positives. Um, and all the tools that you accumulate. For me, like I said, I work in construction. It's like everything needs upkeep. Everything on the outside, whether it be construction, a building, a car, um, you have to take it in for an oil change. You have to take it in for any services. It's telling us to work on ourselves as well. It's tapping us on the shoulder to say, wake up. You need to work on yourself as well. Break down those walls. Get rid of that emotional baggage that you have. It's creating nothing but physical problems and disease. It infects you. You need to learn how to pull the weeds and start all over again. And that's what's so beautiful about being here and realizing that it can be done with your eyes wide open and your heart wide open. But yeah, so it was just my thought on the conjunction, the joining, the fusing of your shadow and working in harmony and synchronicity with it. They say the conjunction tomorrow, great conjunction that hasn't happened in a long time, where it's in Aquarius at 0 degrees. I think, what is it? Uranus is the planet that rules Aquarius. I don't know too much about it. Like I said, I'm just learning a lot. I'm learning new things that I could never imagine that I would have ever thought about learning. Just happening, be blessed to wake up, and I'm very grateful and thankful to have that second opportunity. Yeah. So, anyways, we're all meant to find peace. We have to suffer first, though. Take all the wrong paths we take. Eventually we find peace. Hopefully, while we walk the earth, we can find peace, all of us. It's my wish for everybody to be awake and aware in the now. That's my wish. So, yeah. Thanks for listening.